Good morning, everybody. It's Marty the JavaScript Party and my buddy Rhett here. It is Friday. And man, it could not have come at a better time. I have been so effing tired all week long. Everyone I know has been tired. All my dogs have been tired. My bird was very tired this morning. It actually took a lot of coaxing to get her out of her cage this morning. Um, and normally my dogs will start yelping around 6 a.m. And then like I went out there at like 7:15 and they still weren't. They were still like just chillaxing and sleeping and stuff. When I take we have feral cats that live out in the yard and in the neighborhood and all that. I live in a fairly densely vegetation, a lot of vegetation, it's mostly trees and bushes all over the place, and there's about probably 6 or 7 feral cat colonies that live in the very close vicinity. And many times I put out food for them every day and every morning. Sometimes when I go out there, there'll be like 10 or 12 cats waiting for the food, and sometimes there's none. And usually, sometimes when there's none, it just means that like other people are feeding them, so they're not too worried about getting food. But like this morning, there was just a couple of the real serious ones, and I think everybody else, all the other cats were sleeping. So I don't know. They're just the days are getting shorter, so I guess that might have to do with it. But anyways, that doesn't change the fact that this is a fun project that I like to work on every morning, and it's something that I work on to try to get a deeper understanding of Angular and ThreeJS and 3D stuff in general. Haven't gotten a chance to spend a whole lot of time on 3D. Spent almost all the time on Angular. We also spent a lot of time on on unit testing, and this was my first sort of excursion into end-to-end testing. And damn, bro, you need end-to-end testing. Whatever you're doing, you probably need end-to-end testing. I just cannot believe how much stress it takes off of you if you have a good set of end-to-end tests. So you make some changes, you push a button, you see if your changes have broken anything that you weren't thinking of. And there's not a whole lot to this project, and it's already paid dividends. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time to build out a nice end-to-end test. Unit tests take much more time, as far as I can tell, than end-to-end testing. So basically, there's like sort of two abstract kind of concepts that I was bumping up against that have basically made um, the that have basically stalled this project out. One of them was the concept of detached nodes inside of basically UI things, UI uh, elements and stuff like that that get sort of removed behind the scenes by Angular. Um, and for some reason, like certain things like the router and mat table, not mat table, but mat menu, um, create these detached nodes and detached elements. So I'm trying to refactor a way for this specific project because I think it's important to try to not have any detached nodes, or try to sort of be sort of a memory, a lot of focus on minimizing the memory footprint of this application, because I think it's going to need the memory. It can't be wasting memory. Most projects I work on, memory is not like, it's like if you went to a restaurant and you had $10,000 in your pocket and you're trying to buy lunch, and one thing is $1 and the other thing is $5. Since you have $10,000, like, what do you care? $1, $5, it's all the same. You're not going to run out. But like, let's say you only had $20. Well, then $1 versus $5 makes a big difference. That's kind of like this project is. This is an expensive memory project. it uses a lot of memory. So I need to make sure that I keep close tabs on the way the memory works. So one area I found was mat menu, and so we've eliminated mat menu. And then now the other area I found is the router, and so now I've eliminated the router. We could dig in. We could start looking in source code and try to figure out where that is. I don't think it's worth my time. Just kind of thing where it's just like that is, like I feel like we could dig all the way in, figure it all out, get it all, find some fix for it, do a PR request or a merge request with Angular, and they may or may not ever decide to respond. So it's just not worth it. But the other place that I found that something interesting is going on is in this situation where when I go to create these visualizations, sometimes they show up and sometimes they don't. I do think that just like it would, whatever that is causing it will eventually resolve itself. Like I don't really need to dig in and figure out what it is, but I do think it's a huge opportunity to understand something. So I've been thinking about it a lot. So the thing with the Angular router and the map menu, I might put a thought or two into it every once in a while, but this issue I think about quite a bit. And I think what it is I don't know if there's a name for this pattern or whatever, but basically when a visualization creates itself, when it gets constructed, it has life cycle hooks, and during one of those life cycle hooks, it actually registers itself to ThreeJS. And what ThreeJS wants is a ThreeJS at the top of the ThreeJS tree. It has this concept of a renderer. I believe that's what it is. Let's look at our interfaces real quick. ST, and then 3. So we have these different things, and I believe at the very top is a renderer, and a renderer will have a 3 renderer when you create a 3 renderer, one of the things that you can give it is an element, an HTML element, and then that's how the 3 renderer knows where to draw whatever it needs to draw. And so what happens is when one of these visualizations creates itself, it registers itself with this system, with the ST renderer, and then the ST renderer updates the 3 renderer with the element. And so basically, at some point, this element got taken away from it. Like when it got created, it took itself away, and and I'm trying to put the words together because I'm trying to understand this stuff at a sort of a cerebral linguistic level. If you spend a lot of time coding and you're hacking, you put the hoodie on, you go in a dark room and you just start grinding away, you are coding at a very primal level, which is great because it's like you can literally get 100 times as much done in that mode than you can in this mode that I'm trying to sort of struggle with. The problem is you become weird as shit. You don't want to be a weirdo. It seems neat, like if you ever watch Mr. Robot or whatever, and you see hackers and how they have these weird things. No, that sucks. It sucks to be like that. You don't want to be that way. I've been that way. I've known lots of people that way. That is not a fun way to be. He is miserable, and it is miserable. It's a miserable, miserable existence. You really want to operate at more of a cerebral level, but sometimes you just need to get shit done, so you need to drop in. The other main problem with dropping into that sort of mode where you're coding like that is you're insanely vulnerable in those modes. So that's why you kind of want to have your hoodie on and be in a dark room by yourself, because you're insanely vulnerable at that point. And a lot of times they want you to work like in an open work area, and they just want you going in that super vulnerable mode, and there's always someone that's going to throw a ball at you or do something at you to sort of mess with you at that level. And then there's also like a cognitive level where you're super vulnerable, where someone could just dump a cognitive load on you. And for me, I actually get physically sick anytime that happens. If I'm in that mode where I'm really grinding out work, um, and it hits, and someone drops a cognitive load, it'll literally, like, I'm in the bed for 2 days after that, trying to recover from the sort of, I don't know what it does, but it really does a lot of unpleasant things to my brain. But anyway, so trying to work through why this is happening. So like if we come in here and we reload and we're in tabular mode. So right now what happens is we have two, if we look at the elements, we have two um, top level components. We have this, they're in here in this, and so we have this app custom layout component and app tabular layout component. So it's easy to sort of like say, okay, so what happens is in Angular, this is like an unsupported, undocumented feature, is they will render this one out and then they'll render this one out. And so if you count on that, you're gonna eventually, sooner or later, you're gonna be sorry, because that is not like guaranteed. But so if I create a new component, what happens is I will add this visualization, and since I'm in tabular layout, I see it, but there's also a visualization sitting in this custom. And so when I built this out, because I didn't have the problem of having the same visualization at the same time, I didn't code anything to determine like, oh, should I be taking this visualization? Does this visualization belong to custom layout, or does it belong to tabular layout, or does it belong to edit layout, right? Like, none of that intelligence was ever built into it. All it did was say, hey, I exist and it's mine. And so this one came up and said, hey, I exist and it's mine. And so then it registered itself with ThreeJS. It rendered the visualization, and before it could ever even do anything, this one came out and said, hey, I exist and it's mine, and it stole it. And so like how we want to deal with that is definitely up for grabs. But like, see, if you look in here, see there's not even a canvas in here anymore. There was probably at one point for a fraction of a second. We look in here and then we see our canvas. So basically we sort of built our foundation on the concept that the whole visualization would be gone. But when those visualizations were gone, they didn't actually go away. They stayed on the browser. They just couldn't be seen. And then we started accumulating detached elements that were just consuming memory. So that's kind of how we got to where we're at right now. And I'm going to have to figure that out. That is one of those things that I'm going to have to like maybe, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but I think it's good that this app viz still exists, and only because it would be better if the app viz didn't exist, if it was just gone. The problem is that all the mechanisms we have for getting rid of it, I believe, will also leave it in existence, just not visible. And then when I need to show this thing again, it's just going to create a new one. And I would rather just reuse one instead of leave it, detach it, and then create a new one and just keep creating them. So that's kind of where we're at, and I'm trying to figure that out in ahead of time. But in the meantime, we also have a third visualization, or a third component that we want to have control over, and that is the update. And so we got it to where it knows that the update. So like if I click this, see now we have update 1. Now what we're seeing is the custom layout, and the custom layout is sitting on top of the tabular layout, and that's why we can't see anything. I believe that's what's happening here. I believe if I come in here and I say like hide element, let's see. Well, I don't know. Tabular layout. See, tabular layout still has the canvas right now, but for some reason we just can't see it. Let's see. Custom layout. Oh, let's undo that. And then, I don't know, let's delete it. See what happens. So that's wild. Oh, because what we have is by default, this this tabular layout has a display done. So if we undo that, see, we could still see it. And it's good to sort of do what I just did, like kind of go through things. It's only 8:33. That's good. Kind of go through things and just kind of go through things and just make sure that your brain and the way your context and your understanding is still accurate. Um, and it is. So now, so we did delete the whole thing. We didn't need to. So by default in our CSS, that's how we control what's displayed. In our CSS, by default, what happens is the custom layout is positive. It's displayed, but the tabular layout is hidden by default. But if the tabular layout, if the class of tabular exists at the parent level, then custom layout becomes none and tabular layout becomes block. And so we want to add a third one of these, and that's the update. I believe, yeah, see, update is the name. And so we have so the class right now, like if we were to look in here at the parent, what we'll see is that the class, the last few videos is when I set that all up, the class is update. So we want to say, whenever we have the update, we want to show the update update class. See, I was kind of thinking to myself, oh, I could hit refresh and hit update on update, but I don't think the update right now, the update doesn't, that whole mechanism doesn't, I don't think it knows how to display itself when it's been added after it was displayed, and it depends on the number being there. But anyway, so we're going to create a third thing, and this, like in the 2010, 2008, this was how almost all routing was handled through display. It was you would set up your styles, and you'd have a parent style, and then you would have children styles that sort of were, okay, based on this parent, I'm supposed to be displayed. Based on that parent, I'm not supposed to be displayed. So this is a very retro way of doing things that was very, very popular. I remember interviewing for a job with this, I think the guys, I don't know, some like TV celebrity. I believe it was like the Dr. Oz show or something like that. And so before the interview, I looked at the website and all that, and they had thousands of layers deep of CSS that handled things at all kinds of level. Like that was how it worked. They scaled it to such a massive degree. It was incredible. I think so. It's like 2004, I think. I was in desperate need of a job, and I interviewed at CNN for a job, and I had gotten into like a conversation with the recruiter, and the recruiter's like, "You need to wear a suit," and I was like, "I don't think I should wear a suit." And he's like, "This is CNN. You need to wear a suit." So I showed up to the interview, and the dude that was interviewing me was wearing a Bermuda shirt and some shorts, and so we had a conversation, and then I went to a second interview for that thing, and the guy at the second interview was like, "Yeah, he'll never hire you because you wore a suit." And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that recruiter completely um, sabotaged me." So years later, for that interview, had the same exact conversation. The darn recruiter was just like, "No, you need." It wasn't actually a recruiter; it was the person that represents, like, they have like an administrator that is over the recruiter, or not over the recruiter, but they're in charge of the client. And he was just like, "You need to wear a suit. You need to wear a suit." And I was like, "I don't think I should wear a suit." He's like, "Oh, you better wear a suit. You if you don't wear a suit, blah blah blah." And he was like threatening me. I better wear a suit. And I was like, "You know what? I'm not doing the interview." We had already scheduled the interview to happen, and then I was like, "I'm not wearing a suit interview." And I cussed him out, and then he hung up. We hung up, and then he called back like a minute later. He's like, "Okay, you don't have to wear a suit." And I was like, "No, screw you. I'm not going to the interview." And so I never did the interview. And then the recruiter called me, and she was like, "Dude, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Just go do the interview." Blah blah blah. I probably should have gone to the interview, but I'm pretty sure that was the Dr. Oz thing. I never did go to that interview, so that was the end of that. But anyway, so we know that the parent is going to be update, and we know that app custom layout and app tabular layout need to be none. And we know that, I believe it's called app update layout. And that one's going to be block. And I'm basically just going to go and validate that it is in fact app update. Let's see. Oh, it's app layout menu. We aren't looking at menus, layouts. So basically what we want to do is see that the selector is actually app. Okay, so that's app update layout. I don't know. I think this is a mistake I was making with the CLI. I think sometimes you have to say tell it what you want it to do, and then sometimes it just puts that. But so I don't know if that's going to break anything, because I don't know if we're using it anywhere at this point. But anyways, so app update layout is what I want it to be. And I've just, through lots and lots of experience, I found that changing this selector doesn't, if it breaks something, it's not like a sneaky thing. It breaks it pretty fast. So right now I don't think I have any, I'm showing the app update layout ever. And I think that was because that was handled by the router before. And see, when I was using the router, you give it this. So that's why I didn't notice it. You give it the actual class that it uses, not the selector. And that's a little weird. It would be nice if they would sort of either go with the selector in the router or go with the class. And I have seen a lot. I've been to several on several teams where like the selectors aren't even set, so there is no selector, and then and you get all kinds of warnings and stuff in the build, or you used to, at least at one point. But anyways, so that is correct. We are updating app selector layout, and then I think in here we want to do and I believe this one has a required field. Oh, that is not the, I believe it has a required field, so it will probably be upset, but right now it's just upset that I didn't bring it in. So let's go ahead and import it. I think we can probably just go app update layout QRSTU. Well, So it's probably just a hang up on my part, and this is kind of thing that probably early in my career didn't really bother me, and it still doesn't really bother me. I'm more bothered because it bothers other people. I sometimes will say that it's OCD by proxy. Um, there's when these things aren't in alphabetical order, there are some people that really get it really messes them up. So let's go ahead and I would not do this if I was in a professional environment because um, this many times just happens to lead to weird QRSTU, weird Git conflicts when you change stuff around in things like this, especially if it's like on one line. Um, but and then like once you start getting into weird Git conflicts, um, then things get very, very like finger pointing of why things are broken just go all get really weird. Okay, so we are on update and we are actually showing it as the update. Now the thing is nothing exists. I think if I hit add viz, yeah, so we still don't have that. So let's close that. I don't know. So we still say we have this, but for some reason, this is a mystery to me why like it's not being displayed. But anyway, so now we do have all three and all that. So I think that is a success. And that was really what I wanted to accomplish today. So that's good. So I think all that's really left to, and this is going to be a lot easier said than done, is to actually get the visualizations to show. So, you know, like, so that we don't have to be, oh, interesting. Oh, okay. So this is happening because we did not update the styles appropriately. So we want this guy to be none unless, unless the parent is displayed. Now, and again, I mean, unless the parent is update. Now, again, this is a scheme that was heavily used at some points. And if you think you might be in a position where you're going to be, you know, maybe have to support some sort of legacy application, especially if it's like in jQuery or stuff like this, you will very likely see this pattern of having like a parent setting things. Now, like I said before, it's kind of nice if you can like always count on the parent being if you can set all these to none and then just set the one you want to so you don't have to like, so every time we add another thing we're going to be copying and pasting all of these. If we knew that the parent was always going to be set, that it was always going to be tabular, update, or custom, then we could just set all the ones at the top and then set them dynamically. And I guess it wouldn't be that hard to write the code that way. So like, because right now the signal returns that, but like in the template we could add stuff. I don't know, but so let's go ahead and sort of do this. That is crazy. So when it redrew, it actually re-executed. You know, because it doesn't, because the HAR thing or whatever, like something behind the scenes actually redraws with the styles, and when that happened, it actually fixed this. But anyway, so we're gonna go like this, and I'm just gonna, let's watch some, see if we've created any sort of memory issues. Memory issues is not something, I don't even know how long this has been around, but I think this is great, and I do think that it's going to end up being like an important thing in the future of software development. But maybe not. It could end up being that like everybody gets their stuff together, and then let's go to update. Let's run this this thing again. Okay, so now we've got two things. They just have a one. This matte ripple style loader got to that. I have a feeling this one will also um, keep growing too. Like it doesn't have anything in it, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. I'm gonna have to put more thought into it. And I think we could probably turn something off. Um, so now we have a matte icon, the table icon, and we have two of them, and they say stop. Let's go back to table. I don't even know what this matte icon image. Oh, it's our table update icon. I think that's this guy up here. Table rows. Let's see if I can find that table update. Table dash update. Yeah, I think, oh, well, oh, so maybe it's, let's close that. Maybe it's this guy here. I think it's this guy. For some reason, this dude is becoming like a memory. It's staying in memory for some reason. It's the table update icon. So once we get things working again, I'll do like update the unit tests, the end-to-end tests, and hopefully remember to come back and try to figure out how to make that go away. Again, that's not that big, but it's way bigger than these two. And it does seem to, like, every time I go back and forth, it seems to just keep multiplying. These two just kind of sit at one. I think no matter what I do, there's one of them. This guy seems to grow linearly. As I move throughout the application, this one seems to grow, which, I don't know for sure what the implications of that are or what the impacts of that are, but I do know that anytime I've seen sort of linear growth in memory consumption, in wasted memory consumption, that's generally a really bad sign. Um, Especially like if you are hoping that the application is going to be heavily used by someone, like someone's going to have a very intense session with the application. You really don't want any sort of linear sort of growth. And that's the thing I can imagine is like popping between custom and then back to update. I can just imagine that being like a thing that you would want to do a lot. Let's see, it didn't grow that time though. Now let's go back and leave it, and then no. So it's staying. Oh no, we ran it again. Oh no, so now we have a new one. This table. Well, it's the same one though. And we have two of them again. So yeah, so now it almost seems like it's growing exponentially, which is absolute disaster. If that is in case, because it looks like we went from 2 to 4 that time. And that's not good. That's really bad, actually. Let's go here and take our snapshot. So we got another, no. Oh yeah, so we went from 2 to 6. I mean, from 4 to 6, which is sort of like, it seems like sometimes, well, yeah, I don't know. So it feels like it's linear, and then, gosh, I wish, if I had grown up like wealthy, I definitely would have loved to have become a mathematician, because I just loved calculus and differential equations and all those courses. but you know, I went into engineering because I wanted to make the money, and I do think it did pay off. I think it would have been difficult for me to ever um, move up in the math world, but um, this is definitely seems like it's linear, linear, exponential, linear, linear, exponential, linear, linear, exponential, um, and that is probably like the kind of thing where someone just out of nowhere, the whole system's just going to freaking crash on them. And I don't, I definitely do not want to be someone who causes that sort of pain in somebody's life. So I definitely want to keep a close eye on this and figure out how to make it to where this table icon doesn't end up doing that. But before we do that, we do got to restabilize the application and get it to where as you move through, you can see the correct. You can see the this guy no matter which one of those. So basically, um, this dude is only smart enough to know that it exists. So I probably need to take that responsibility away from this and move that responsibility up to the app. And the app will determine who gets the visualization. And then we'll see what happens. And one thing we haven't even looked at all, and I don't even want to try to look at it until after we've solved this, slayed this dragon, is deleting. So when you delete, does it end up leaving a detached node? And if it does, we'll try different ways of deleting. I think all delete does is remove the array item. So when that array item goes and then the Angular goes through and recalculates and redraws, does it properly, or does it end up, I don't make you say properly because I think properly sort of has blame baked into it, and I don't necessarily know that this is the fault of the Angular app code, but does it end up leaving a detached node behind? Anyways, it is 8:54. I think I've gotten everything I wanted to get done today done, and tomorrow, Saturday, I'll definitely work on basically trying to get it to where, like, in this mode you see the visualization, and in this mode you see the visualization, and we'll move forward from there. I guess it'll be fun just to do one last snapshot. So yeah, so that time nothing happened. Oh, I think it happens every time I leave here. That's when it happens. So that is the problem that we're going to look at once I solve the next problem. Yeah, so we ended up with another pair of these. It is so wild that it's creating two every time. I'm not worried about this one. It just seems like, hey, you know, there's going to be one of these. It's going to create one of these for some reason, and whatever. And then it looks like it's going to create one of these things, and this thing probably has apps. And both of those don't really have any they don't seem, this one might have like links to things. I don't know. I don't even know. There's like this big disconnect between what happens in the browser. Like, it says it's gone in, like, it exists on the browser, but it doesn't exist in JavaScript. So it should have cleaned itself up in JavaScript because it doesn't exist in JavaScript. Anything that was referencing this that's being stayed alive, well, it's not referencing this anymore. That's the reason we have a detached node. Happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.